The other field, the other hybrid field, which is the reptilian field, takes over from the human field. Now, if you've got a human field and I'm decoding the human field, and then not a physical solid shift, but your hybrid field becomes the dominant field. To me, as an observer and a decoder, I'm seeing you change from a human to a non-human. But it's not happened physically, because there is no physical. It's happened in the decoding processes of my brain. I've been reading your human field, and now it's become a non-human field. And to me, you've just transformed physically from one field to another.
Yeah,
but you haven't.
Couldn't we argue, though, that that's what happens to people when they lose the plot, when they have psychotic episodes, that they see, this person's turned into the devil, or this person, people who go through psychosis do often, show these signs to say, I've walked in and my nan's turned into the devil, or whatever it is.
Yeah, there is a level that can happen, but what happens to the brain in these different states of awareness? It might be through ayahuasca, or it might be through other changes in the brain. The brain starts decoding reality in a different way.
Yeah, but that's only if you're corpus mentis. If you're not if something's happened, like you've had a bang on the head, or you've got some kind of trauma going on where you've got a psychological episode, and you're getting sectioned or whatever, then imagine people saying and they've seen things.
Yeah.
People have shapeshifted into things.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. There's an area of psychology outside of the mainstream orthodoxy that has come to the conclusion that what are called, not in every case, of course not, but what are called psychological states that are considered people that should be put in mental homes or something, what's actually happening is what they're saying they're seeing, they're actually seeing. If someone came along and said, I saw this person change into a reptile, immediately you'd go, well, you're mad. Obviously, you've got some psychotic problem going on. But what if it's actually real? And what I've done, because I've been doing this for so long, I'm coming into my 36th year, there's been such a layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of evidence that you're way beyond the point where you go, this is real. It doesn't mean that other people don't have psychotic states where they see things that aren't there or whatever. But in this foundation thing of the shape-shifting reptilians, and also, one of the things that I do is I look at ancient legends and ancient accounts, and I play them across modern experience and modern science and modern psychology or whatever. And what I'm looking for is patterns of agreement. Like, I'll look at religions and I'll look at ancient legends and shamanistic streams of knowledge. And okay, you're going to see patterns of disagreement. Fine. But what are the patterns of agreement? And it's amazing what you find. There's a pattern of agreement across the religions and the ancient cultures that there is a non-human force operating outside of the realm of the human scene that is manipulating human society. And they give them endless names in different cultures.
The Egyptians have got, obviously, weird-shaped heads and different gods, obviously the Anukai or whatever, the Anukai or whatever. So there is a lot of, I'm looking at it going, are you saying to me that you believe that the royal family are reptilian blood, or they are a kind of hybrid species?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. And what is royalty? Why does it have a divine right to rule? It's claimed, and why does it incessantly interbreed? Why?
It doesn't say. Does it anymore?
Well,
after the Spanish fellow was that deformed? Whatever.
Yeah,
it was?
well,
but they did for thousands of years.
Yeah, but the point is, what they're trying to hold is it's like a software program. It's this hybrid software program, which if you interbreed outside of that program, in other words, you interbreed with the commoners, then that program gets diluted, and you cease to have some of the encoded
peasant DNA.
Some of the encoded gifts that you have, because one of the things about this particular bloodline is it appears to have a wider acuity, so it can see things that humans in general can't see. That's something that's come up over the years, and so what happened when eventually, although we've not in this country,
gives you a fucking terrible hairline. That's
yeah,
for sure. One of them's got a decent head of hair.
But yeah, well, they
sausage
are,
fingers.
That they are different. But when what you had throughout that period of history was control by inherited genetic monarchy, right? Who had sex with who in what order, decide what the fucking monarch and the head of the country is going to be. Eventually, there was a maturity among people, not yet in this country, that said, we're not having that. We're not having our head of state decided by the genetics of the freaking family. What are you talking about? And so they then introduced this political system. But these bloodlines still incessantly interbreed. And, one of the things I learned from this longtime friend of Princess Diana is how the royals just wanted her genetics. And once they'd got them, it was over. Eventually she was...
The Spencer line.
She was really over. Yeah, they wanted this. They wanted the Spencer genes for whatever reason. So...
Well, it's an ancient bloodline, isn't it? That family's,
all these aristocratic bloodlines go way back. And
there's a big... sorry to stop you. There's a tin-off moment that there's some out say that William is actually one of the Red Shield's offspring rather than Charlie's, because that's the way they've inbred that line.
I talk about that in one of my books. I think it's called Perception Deception. There's very, very good chance.
I'm gonna have to read it because
there's a very good chance that he's a Rothschild on both sides. Or certainly of a certain genetics on both sides. But so Diana described herself to this lady as like the Windsor's broodmare. They just wanted her genetics, and once they got him, because he was with Camilla all along, right? Because that was the one he wanted to be with, but he had to do his genetic duty, right? And that's how it works, because the human body is literally a biological computer, and it carries certain, if you like, software programs, and the hybrid software program is diluted if it interbreeds outside of itself to any extent.
Yeah, like any bloodline, if you were breeding racehorses or whatever.
Exactly. It's interesting. The Queen and certainly the Queen.
David, I could speak to you about this for hours and hours and hours. I'm mindful Noah's trying to wrap me up here, and we've taken up far too much of your time. I've just got 2 questions to finish, if that's all right. If everything you've warned us about is true, what should a normal person do tomorrow morning?
Well, people have said to me over the years, what's the solutions? Well, I'm not interested in solutions, because solutions invariably lead to still more problems, which need more solutions. What I'm looking at is, if you've got a problem that you want to erase, what's the cause of it? Why can it manifest? What's causing it? Because if you remove the cause, the problem must disappear. So here we have apparently 8 billion people controlled by a fraction, a tiny, tiny fraction in full knowledge of that 8 billion. It's impossible. It can't happen. unless the 8 billion give their power away to the few. So if you go back to that pyramid and you look at it with the inner circle of the cult at the top, the capstone, connected to this non-human dimension, and you come down the pyramid in the same sequence to the mass of the population at the bottom. And that sequence is imposition, acquiescence. So the inner circle imposes its will upon the level below it. And it acquiesces to that will and imposes that will on the level below them. Eventually, pretty quickly, you reach a point in the pyramid as you come down where people are unaware that there is a pyramid, there is a cult, and there is an inner circle. But the sequence continues of imposition, acquiescence, imposition, acquiescence. It's, in a simple way, people go, oh, I don't know, it's come down from on high, I guess we better do it or we'll be in trouble, right? Imposition, acquiescence, imposition, acquiescence. This is the hierarchy, the hierarchical structure of power. And eventually you reach the mass of the people at the bottom of the pyramid. And if they acquiesce to the level that's imposing upon them, which is politicians, law enforcement, royals, etc., then we complete a circuit of imposition and acquiescence, which means that the will of the tiny few at the top of the pyramid is imposed on the entirety of humanity. And all it's taken is acquiescence to authority, what the perceived authority above you is. So we do not see fascism and communism and tyranny imposed by fascists, communists, and tyrants. There's never enough of them. The reason they can impose tyranny is the acquiescence of the population to tyranny. And people say, oh, the authority is so powerful. No, it's frickin' not. If authority comes out of Downing Street and the White House and said, we've had a discussion and we've decided this is going to happen, if enough of the population say, we're not doing it, we're not doing that, go stuff yourself. No, we're not doing that. Where's their power? Their power is people saying, oh, well, I don't agree with it, but you can't break the law. You got to do what they say. That's the acquiescence of the many to the few, which has gone on throughout human frickin' history, and which is why throughout human history, known human history, the few have always controlled the many. So what is the cause of the few controlling the many? It's the many giving their power to authority. And this is why, as I said earlier, they have to break the population up into rigid belief systems which can then be played off against each other, because that's the only way you disunite your target population so that you can literally divide and rule. And so if you look at the number of people in the world today that dictate global events, it's freaking tiny compared with the number of people that are imposed upon. How do you take away the cause of the problem? You stop fighting among yourselves on irrelevant frickin' fault lines of division. You have respect for everyone to believe what they want to believe without imposing what they believe on everyone else. I've got the truth, so I must impose it upon you. And you say, hold on a minute, just put those fault lines aside for a second. I don't care if you're a Muslim or Christian or whatever you are, think you are, put them aside. Now, look up. Oh, what's that? What's that hand holding strings to all of us? Exactly. So if we can just focus our attention upon that force which is playing us all, and we can unite in relation to that force, we can bring this to an end over frickin' night. We really, really could, by refusing to cooperate with our own enslavement. Wonderful example now. Starmer wants to bring in this digital ID, which is part of a digital currency and a massive AI control system. It's being introduced all over the world because it's globally coordinated. But if people in this country said, we're not doing it, we're not having a digital ID, and companies said, no, we're not going to impose a digital ID on anyone, go stuff yourself, no power. The power that is imposed upon us is the power we give to authority, and it's got to stop. And, I remember when I spoke at the Oxford Union once, a few times, but on this one occasion, they give you a bit of soup beforehand in some hotel.
I spoke there,
yeah. Oh, you spoke there, have you? Yeah. And there's
I didn't get the soup, I don't think.
Yeah, there's a few people, very nice. There's a few people sitting around the table. And there's this young lad. We used to call them in the BBC young fogies. I worked on Newsnight for a while. And we used to call them young fogies. They used to come out of university, is kind of into the lower levels of the production. And they were like 24 going on 68, you know what I mean? Young fogies, we call them. But he was a young fogey. And what he couldn't grasp was any structure of society that wasn't hierarchical. He couldn't understand how it could possibly work. But it works because what you say to politicians is, we're only going to cooperate with what we think is right. And we're also going to expand our perception of right and wrong from what affects us to what affects other people. So I think it was Martin Luther King who said that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. And what tends to happen, if you remember that the poll tax in the Thatcher era, she introduced this deeply unfair frickin' tax. And crucially, what it did was affect the working class, because normally, anyone who's not working class, when the working class is affected, it's like, well, working class, great, unwashed, nothing to do with me. And the working class, when the middle class or whatever is affected, go, oh, bloody middle class, bloody snobs they are, nothing to do with me. But what this poll tax did was affect the working class and the middle class.
Wasn't you one of the first people to go to court for opposing that?
I was, yeah. I was actually among.
I know what it's like to be one of the first in court for something.
I actually, you're bringing back so many memories in this chat. I was the first court case of the poll tax refusers was actually in Newport, Isle of Wight, and I was on the roster.
So again, what can just to sum it up in as simple as we can, because I'm mindful of taking up too much of your time, what would a normal person do in the morning? Oppose tyranny, oppose government, oppose this directive from above?
We don't have to fight the system. The system wants us to fight it because then it can justify the rules of imposing even more tyranny. We just cease to cooperate with it. And imagine, for instance, that people during COVID refused to wear masks. Okay, which I did. So
in the end, yeah.
Who's going to impose it on millions of people? I'll give you a wonderful example. During COVID, they said that anyone working in a care home had to be vaccinated with this horror up to before a certain point, or they couldn't work in the care industry. Not enough people in the care industry said, no, we're not doing it. So they got the sack, and others that remained had the jab. They then tried to play the same thing on NHS workers, National Health Service workers. But as they closed in on the deadline, the number of NHS workers, not least because they'd seen the consequences of it, who were saying we're not doing it, we're not having the jab, was so massive they dropped the mandatory nature, and people now and during COVID, when it first started, people and the restrictions first started, people started to protest, and there were only a few of them, and the police moved in, and it was easy. By the time we reached a certain point in COVID, I was walking through the streets of London in protest with maybe 100,000 people, and the police, who had been picking people off to start with, were standing on the side of the roads watching us go past. There's just too many people who weren't cooperating, and there's nothing they could do about it. So if you add the people in full knowledge of what they're doing, which will be a tiny number, you add them to the various levels of government and law enforcement that impose the will of the few on the population, you're still looking at a tiny number compared with the population. People, put the fault lines of division down, put the fault lines and limitations of rigid, unquestioning belief down, and let's just focus on the force that has us all in its gun sights, and realize that we collectively have had the power all along. We've just been tricked and kidded into giving it to the few. So take it back. No, we're not doing that. We're not having it. And then we'll see where the power has been all along. And it's with us. But the trick is to trick us into believing that it's with the few. And that confidence trick is why the few have always controlled the many, and will go on doing so until the many suss where the real power has always been.
Last thing from me. What's the one thing you want remembered about you when the dust settles?
Couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. As long as this this system comes down, this control system comes down, and the kids, the grandkids, live in freedom rather than unbelievable levels of tyranny, which is what's planned. I don't care how people remember me. I'm not bothered about being remembered. I'm bothered about humanity regaining its freedom, and as a result of that, and even the freedom is a result of remembering our true identity. We are not human. We're having a brief human experience. We're not subject to some judgmental, fearsome freaking God that we must be God-fearing about. We are consciousness. We are part of an infinite state of awareness. And when you remember that and you self-identify with that, bingo, everything changes. And it doesn't matter whether people remember you.
Well, you've done thousands of interviews, thousands of media, requests, etc. Wrote in 30 books. People talk about you all the time. I'm pretty sure you'll be remembered, mate. And I can't thank you enough for your time. I
Real pleasure, Joey.
All afternoon. There's millions of things I'd love to ask you about, but obviously Noah's kicking off at me for the time. I'm mindful of my kids coming in. But David, Icke, thank you so much, and hopefully I get to sit down and have a gab with you again.
Oh, cheers. Cheers, Joey.
Thanks a lot, mate.
All the best, mate.
So we have seen where they have released some more quote-unquote Epstein files, and I see the outrage, see the disbelief by many people, but this is just the surface, people. This is just the surface. If we're to truly dive deep, they're telling people crazy. Even though them say a lot of things more them of some deaths and torture and some crazy stuff, people. Hey, remember in the early line of people when they hold on for Maxwell, just hold on for Maxwell and lock her up. Them say the things them people and the evidence that they gather was just too much for the public, for public consumption. So that alone, just imagine what's in those things. So at them level they have psychopathic behavior type of people we have. So you kinda crazy still. And I don't know what come out of this. I don't think nothing evil come out of this, to be honest with you. I don't really think nothing come out of this. Make it very real. I don't think nothing come out of this. These people are such in a position of power people that it don't even matter anymore. It don't even matter if you know all of these evidence. Like everything on our face, like that the matter is like the matter. Give us everything and say, what we're not going to do. So, what we're not going to do about this? Yeah. Trump do this, Epstein do this, Oprah do this, that star do this, this star do that. So, what we're not going to do. What are you guys going to do? And I just tell that people, what are we going to do with all these evidence presented before us? What must we do with it? What Trump I go resign, Trump I go down, Trump I go to prison? No. That's the answer to all of those questions, people. Prince, so-called ex-prince, see them put out the ex-prince. Ex-prince, all of a sudden an ex-prince. So, the royal family people come on, neck deep into this. The royal family, Epstein royal family. It is a big group, people. Big group of psychopaths. Bill Gates, all of them people. All of them, all apart. Crazy, insane people need to be removed. Remove people. It's just crazy right now. Level up, when the earth is most vulnerable of our population, things need to reach on here. Things need to reach on people. Revolution business we are talking about, and it's not a bloodless revolution. You have to be that one. These guys are just psychopaths, people. No amount of jail, no amount of prison can hold them. They want biotic, they might get pardon, they might get golden card. All of them compromise, they protect each other. So it's a massive critical arising, people. We need a rising right now and a rising up. They get rid of these guys, people. Evil.